Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be sharing with you today 8 Dollar Tree Patriotic DIYs. So let's go ahead and get started on our first project. Using some of these wooden star cutouts, you can find these in the Crafter Square section at Dollar Tree. Because I'm going to be using 3 of these, you will need 2 packs because they only come with 2 stars. I am also using an American flag napkin that you can pick a package of these up at Dollar Tree as well. I'm going to cut the squares of this napkin out, and then I'm going to peel the napkin apart, just pulling that white piece off of the back so that you are left with just the front piece. Then I'm going to hold my stars in place to determine where I need to cut these napkins out so that I can attach these to the stars. I wanted to have one with the navy blue background with the white stars and then 2 with the red and white stripes. So I did make sure that I held my red and white stripe ones in the same place so that I could have the exact same design on the 2 stars. To attach this napkin to the wood cutout, I am using some Mod Podge, and I'm making sure that I put a nice even coat, especially around the edges. Then I can just simply place my napkin on top of the wood cutout and then very, very gently press this out to make sure I get any of the wrinkles or if there are any air bubbles in there out. And then if there are some corners that are not staying down, I can add a little bit of Mod Podge to that and then press it down. I will repeat this with the other 2 stars for the red and white stripes, again making sure that I line them up so that they both match each other. After the Mod Podge completely dries, I'm gently going to take a piece of sandpaper and sand all the excess off, going in one direction around this entire piece. And I will do that for all 3 stars. You're just going to want to make sure you take your time, and then you'll have a nice precise star and it will remove all of that excess. Once all 3 stars have been sanded, I'm going to use some barbecue skewers. You can get these at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to cut them down. So I wanted the red and white to be the same length, but I wanted the one with the white stars on it to be a little bit longer than the other 2. Once I have those cut down, I can then attach them to the back of the stars using some hot glue. So I'm going to put a nice generous amount of hot glue, and then I'll set the barbecue skewer on top of that, and then I'll add a little bit more hot glue on top of that just to make sure that it stays in place. And I will repeat this for all 3 stars. Then I'll set that to the side, make sure that that hot glue cools off, and I'm going to use this super adorable farmhouse Patriotic bucket from Dollar Tree, as well as one of the styrofoam balls. I just hot glued that and set it in the bottom, and then I'm using some of this Patriotic bundle. Again, you can get this at Dollar Tree. And I cut the stems off of the bundle, and then I'm going to remove the greenery that came on that. For this piece, I just wanted to use the blue flowers. So I'm going to cut that down so that the flower will sit flush with the top of the bucket. And I'm going to place 3 of those in the front. And once I have those in place, then I can add my stars that are on the barbecue skewers. And I'm just going to place the blue star in the middle, and then I could put the red and white ones, one on each side, and then I can go and add the rest of my blue flowers to the back. So I did use almost 2 bundles of those patriotic flowers so that I could have enough of the blue flowers to go at the bottom. I also made sure that I added some hot glue to the barbecue skewers inside of that floral foam to make sure that they would stay in place. Then you can fluff out your blue flowers, and now you have a beautiful centerpiece that you could set on your tables if you're having a barbecue or a cookout. I think this would be a very festive centerpiece. I hope you like project number 1. Now let's get started on project number 2. Using some plain poster board from Dollar Tree and using my paper cutter, I am going to measure out the size of this flag. Now, this flag comes in a package of 3 at Dollar Tree, and it's kind of made like nylon. I'm going to carefully cut the flagpole from it, and you want to be very careful because those ends will fray. Then I measured the width of the flag and cut my poster board down, and then I can line up the length that I need the poster board to be and cut that down. To attach the flag to the poster board, I'm going to use some Mod Podge. Again, make sure that I put a very nice even coat, really emphasizing on those outside edges. Then I can place the flag, and I'm going to start on the left-hand side and press that down so that I can work my way to the right-hand side, and making sure that I am pressing it and getting any kind of bubbles or wrinkles out. And this nylon really sticks very nicely to this poster board. Any pieces that didn't glue down, I can go under that and just add a little bit more Mod Podge. And I did make sure that I added some extra Mod Podge around all of the outside edges, especially the left-hand side where we cut it from the pole. Then I will make sure that that completely dries. And then if I have any extra poster board, which I did, I just used the paper cutter to trim that off so that it was nice and even. Now I'm going to use this large hurricane container from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to set that onto the poster board, and I am going to pull that up to make sure that it's right under the curvature at the top of this hurricane. Then I can add some hot glue to the end and hold that firmly in place onto this glass container until the hot glue cools off. And what I love about this piece is when the holidays are over, if you want to reuse your hurricane container, you can just simply take this off, and the hot glue will come off very easily. I rolled that up, and then I'll pull it very tightly on the other end and add a very good amount of hot glue to that piece, and then hold it onto the other side, making sure that all of the stripes line up together, and this was a perfect fit. Then I will take some white rocks. These are the white pebbles that you can find, again, at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to fill the container up at the bottom just enough so that it covers the clear portion of the glass under the flag. To decorate this, I am using 2 bundles of these gorgeous white roses. I believe I picked these up at Walmart a couple of months ago. I'm going to cut one of the bundles down shorter than the other so that they'll look like they are stacked once I place those in there. And I can fluff this out and set that entire bundle into the rocks. And then I'll take the second bundle and put that right behind it so that it is nice and full. And I think this piece turned out very, very pretty. Again, would be a beautiful centerpiece if you are having a celebration, a cookout, a barbecue, a dinner, whatever you want to use it for, but I think it would be a gorgeous centerpiece. If this is your first time visiting my channel, I would love for you to click that subscribe button and the notification bell. Visit me on Instagram and also my website and my Pinterest board. Okay, you guys, project number 3 is so simple. Using 2 of these glass candle holders from Dollar Tree and the apple cinnamon red potpourri, we're just going to fill these up about 3/4 of the way full. And then we're going to use 2 of the LED star-shaped lights from Dollar Tree. Remove the little tabs from the back and turn the lights on. We can set them right on the top, and this would make some really cute pieces to set. Again, if you're having a cookout, you could set them on your end tables or whatever. It's just a really cute festive piece and so easy to make. I hope you like project number 3 as well. Let's go ahead and get started on project number 4. Using this collage frame from Dollar Tree, I'm going to remove the back and all of the insides. I'm going to take that paper piece that has the pictures on it, and I'm going to use that to attach my American flag to. This is the same American flag we used in the previous project with the hurricane that come 3 in a pack. Again, I'm just going to carefully cut that off of the plastic pole that it's attached to. And then I can Mod Podge this to the paper backing. Now, if you want to have a little bit more of a sturdier piece, you could attach this to some poster board just like we did on the hurricane base. I just centered that up on the white piece of paper, smoothed it out, made sure that I removed any of the wrinkles. And for this piece, because it was on paper, I went one section at a time so that I could glue that down and spread it out so there weren't any wrinkles in there. Again, I'm going to make sure that I get all of those outside edges Mod Podged down so that that nylon doesn't fray anymore and that everything will be nice and sealed. After that dries, I can then simply reinsert this back into the frame, put my backing on, and now you have a beautifully framed American flag that you can display all year long, not just for the holidays. I love how this piece turned out, and I hope you guys like it as well. Now let's move on to our next project, which is project number 5. Starting with one of these mason jar signs from Dollar Tree, you're going to remove all of that stuff that's on the front. And let me tell you, it is a booger to get off. I heated it up. I used my putty knife. I pulled all the stuff off. I scraped it with my fingernails. I finally got most of it off. What I couldn't get off, I tried to sand. It's not going to be completely smooth, but that's okay. It's going to become the back side. So I did give this 2 coats of my Waverly White chalk paint. Again, the front's going to become the back because of all of that stuff that wouldn't come off, and the back will become the front. Using another one of those napkins from Dollar Tree, we're going to cut the square off and then peel that apart and just use the top portion of the napkin. And then Mod Podge this onto the mason jar, making sure that I get all of those edges. And then I am also going to take a dry brush, because this napkin's so thin, and very carefully go over this to get any of the wrinkles out and just try to get it as flat as possible on this mason jar. I am also going to wrap one side with the napkin so that the red and white stripes go around the right-hand side of this mason jar. And I'll do that the same way, just pushing that down and taking that brush and really getting into those crevices so that that design will really pop out after this dries and we can remove that excess napkin. I also will be using this sign from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take that same Waverly White chalk paint, and this actually takes 3 coats on the top to cover that design up, but I also made sure that I painted the outside edges because that was a little bit of a different colored white. We'll set this to the side for just a moment, and we're going to use some of these wood letters. I believe mine came from Dollar General, but you can also find them at Walmart. And I'm going to paint the S with the Waverly White chalk paint. And then I'm going to use Apple Barrel's Flag Red to paint the U. And I'm making sure that I get all of the outside edges, because when you attach this to your piece, you want to make sure everything is covered on the outside. For the letter A, I am using Waverly's chalk paint in the color Ocean. And I'm going to let all of those dry. They only take 1 coat. Now that my mason jar, the Mod Podge, has dried, I'm going to take my fine grit sandpaper and go over all of those edges. Now this is the side that does not have the napkin wrapping around it, so I just took my time and made sure that I got in between all of those creases, and then I'll sand all of the edging until it's nice and smooth. I decided to go ahead and cover this with the Mod Podge just to seal that napkin in to make sure that it doesn't tear or rip. Now the red and the blue was a little bit of a different color than the napkin, and I wanted the lettering to match. So I'm going to add just a hint of black chalk paint to this color to darken it up a little bit so that it will match better with the red and blue in the napkin. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for the A. And I'm going to let all of that dry. I'm going to take a wet wipe and dab it into my black paint because I don't want the S to blend in with the piece once we put all of this together. I wanted it to stand out a little bit, so I'm just going around the outside edging of this letter. Now, after all that paint dries, we can attach it to we can start attaching our pieces together. And I'm going to hot glue that mason jar down to the top of that Dollar Tree sign, more towards the front. Let that glue set up. And then I'm going to take one of the drawer inserts from Dollar Tree that comes in those little cubes. This is the inside portion. And I'm going to paint 3 of the outside edges as well as the top rim, and then somewhat down inside of it so that you would not see the wood. So I didn't worry about the side with the design or the bottom because you're not going to see that. We're actually going to hot glue a styrofoam ball in there. And then we can take this piece and we're going to glue it to the back of our mason jar. So we're going to take the side that has the design on it. It's going to go on the back side of our mason jar, and then the bottom's going to be glued to the bottom of our Dollar Tree sign. And I just tried to center that up behind the mason jar, and this is where we can add our florals later on. Once that glue sets up, I'm going to add my lettering to the front. And this is super cute just the way it is. You could leave it just like this or not even add the box to the back, but I did want to add some florals to the back of that. I started off just by placing the middle letter so that I would know how to place or how far apart to place my other 2 letters. And then I can use some of that Dollar Tree Patriotic bouquet to add into the styrofoam balls. And it just has this gorgeous red and white stripes and then one that is blue with the white stars. And for this piece, I used a lot of the red in the front. And then I'm going to add some of the blue, one piece in the blue in the front and then a couple in the back. But you can use whatever florals you want. I just filled it up. I think I did use a couple or maybe one extra red one from a second bundle until it was nice and full. And then I'm going to take some of this Dollar Tree Spanish moss and add that to the top to cover up the styrofoam ball. And this turned out to be so festive and so pretty. I really do love how this project turned out, and I hope you guys like it as well. And now moving on to project number 6, starting off with one of Dollar Tree's metal containers, as well as one of their styrofoam blocks. I'm just going to cut that in half and take one of those half pieces and set that, and I'm using a putty knife, a plastic putty knife, just to cut mine down. I'll take that half piece and hot glue it right into the center of our metal bucket. And then I'll take the other half, I'm going to cut it in half and then cut that half piece in half so that I have 2 smaller pieces to place on each side of our middle piece. And I will hot glue those down as well so that they'll all stay in place. After I have all of those in place, I am going to take some of Dollar Tree's white hydrangeas. They're so pretty. I think I used about 3 bundles. And I'm going to cut each one of those off, each one of the stems off of the bundle. And then I push my greenery up a little bit so that you can see it. And I'm going to start off by placing these individual pieces all along the front side of the bucket. And once I get that filled in, I'm going to add a few more behind it, like a second layer. And then I'm going to use this absolutely adorable red garden stake, the red truck from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to hold it up to see how high I want that to be above the flowers. And then I'm taking my wire cutters and just scoring it around. And then I'm going to bend it and score it some more and just keep working with it until I can break that in half. And it didn't take long. I mean, it's not super thick. If you had some wire cutters, it would work best, but my little wire cutters wouldn't cut all the way through that. I'm going to add that into the center of the floral foam block that we placed in there. And then I'm going to add some more white flowers all the way around that until it's nice and full on the back side. And because that stake's a little bit wobbly, I'm going to take some hot glue and add that around the stake so that it'll give it a little bit more sturdiness and it'll hold it in place. Then I am using some of Dollar Tree's really beautiful blue flowers. They have like the little beads at the top and then these cute blue flowers, and I'm just filling this in until I get it nice and full. And I love how this turned out with the red, white, and blue. It is so farmhouse, it is so festive, and this would make a really beautiful centerpiece as well. Let me know what you think of this project. Now, project number 7, we're going to start off with this. It's a picture frame from Dollar Tree. It's more of a sign, but it's made like a picture frame. I removed the insert, the backing, and then peeled off that flower, and then I'm going to sand that down till it's nice and smooth. And my original plan when I started this was going to remain the front. So I took my Waverly White chalk paint and I painted over this entire piece. But after my second coat, it had some bubbles in there, and I really didn't like the way that looked. So I'm going to make this the back part of our sign, and I'm going to make the back the front part. So I just removed the hanger that's on there, and when you pull that up, it will leave a few little holes in there. So I'm going to sand those down to get them nice and smooth. And then I took some spackling, which I have some fast dry spackling, and I spread that out and get a nice even coat on there, let that dry, and then I can sand it down nice and smooth, and I can give this 2 coats of my Waverly White chalk paint, and it gave it a much better finish. It turned out so much nicer than all those bubbles that were on the back side. Then I am going to take this and place it back into the frame so that I'll know how to line everything up. Now, I created a decal on my Cricut, but I do always have a free printable. If I create anything with my Cricut, I always try to provide a free printable on my website, which is in my description box below, so that you can print that out and trace it onto your project. And I printed out God Bless America, and I'm going to apply this decal to the top part of the sign. And then to decorate the bottom, I am using that super cute blue garden stake truck. Now this one I can just pop off right at the top, and that's super easy. You just bend it up back and forth a couple of times and it will pop right off. Now I wanted it to set a little bit offset of our frame, so I'm adding some of the tumbling tower pieces. Now I do recommend that you use E6000. I am using hot glue here, but when I put mine together, they did pop off, and I did have to go back in and add some E6000 to really hold that into place. So after you get your glue on there, I actually just wanted to set it where the tires were right on the bottom of our picture frame. And now you have a gorgeous patriotic sign, and I love how this one turned out. It is so pretty. This just screams farmhouse to me, and I just love it. Moving on to our last project for today, which is so simple. Starting off with some of these copper wire LED lights that you could pick up at Dollar Tree. I originally thought I would need 2, but I only need 1. And then this real wood and MDF pallet sign from Family Dollar for $5. Now this sign is gorgeous just the way it is, but I wanted to give it a little something extra, so I'm going to add these LED lights to the outside of it. So after putting my batteries in there, making sure the lights work, because I always like to make sure these lights work. Sometimes they don't always work from Dollar Tree. I'm going to pull that tight, and then it will slide right under the pallet and that piece on the back. You don't even have to glue it or tape it in place. If you hold it tight enough, it will slide right under there, and then you can go around the next corner and slide it under that piece, and it will stay in place. I'm going to repeat this around the entire pallet. Now this is a good size pallet. It's actually 21.5 inches by 13.5 inches. So that's a really nice size for $5. Again, I got this at Family Dollar. When I get all the way around to the edge, Now the blue portion that has the stars is a solid piece on the back, so you can't see through that. I'm going to fold the wire down and take a little bit of hot glue. Now I have this set on low just to hold that wire in that one little spot. And then you're going to take the piece that has your batteries on it. Now make sure that you keep that side up so you'll be able to change your batteries later on. I'm going to hot glue this to the back part, and this is where the blue part is, so you can't see this pack from the front. Then it's just as simple as that. Turn your lights on, and it just really upped the game on this sign, and I think it turned out so pretty. I love this. I think I'm going to put this on my covered porch. You guys, if you have a favorite, as always, I would love to know which one is your favorite. Please let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed today's video, please make sure to give me a big thumbs up. It really helps to support my channel. Thank you so very much for watching. I truly do appreciate each and every one of you. Please take care, and I will see you guys next time.